Hello, we're here today with Maeve O'Keeffe here in Ballino. Today Maeve is going to give us a background here on her home farm. We're also going to discuss lameness, and Maeve is also going to give us some tips on lameness management and also her business here of Hoofcare Direct. So Maeve, thank you very much for having us here today. Maeve, would you just want to give maybe an introduction to yourself there?
Yeah, so I'm a sixth generation dairy farmer. I studied agriculture in Kildalton and WIT, so that took me to New Zealand for 3 months work placement, which turned into a year and a half. And I suppose I was over there working on a herd size of 1,300 cows, where there was a lot of lameness. So with the scale and the number of cows, we were pairing cows every morning. There was there could have been maybe up to 6 cows a morning every morning to pair. So 2 of us would go at the hoof trimming on the farm, and all the farmers over there just did their own hoof trimming. So I learned pretty quickly the basics and how to trim the cows. And then I came back to our own farm here then, and I suppose it was killing me that I'd learned how to hoof trim the cows, but I had nowhere to hoof trim the cows safely. So I said if we could develop something that would make it safe for the cow and safe for me, and I could physically hoof trim the cows, that I'd do our own lame cows here. And so I suppose myself and Dad put our heads together anyway, and we just came up with the idea of turning the cow on her side using hydraulics, and thinking that, this is probably going to be bonkers because usually she goes mad if you lift one leg. She's hopping and dancing around on the 3 legs, so if you were going to lift all 4 of them together, she's probably going to go completely crazy. So all the neighbours thought we were mad. We thought ourselves that we might have been a bit mad as well, but we got out our measuring tape. We were measuring the length of the cow, the width of the cow in the yard, and we just built a very basic unit, and we couldn't believe how quiet the cow was when she was turning her side, and how easy it was on the cow, and how easy it was for me to have the access to the 4 feet as well. Because like that, the front foot was always really awkward to get at, and you're nearly down your hands and knees trying to pull it out. So that just, I suppose we just couldn't believe how quiet the cow was and how well it worked. And then we were doing our own cows here, and other farmers seen it working and hoof trimmers seen it working, and they were like, oh, would you go on and develop it further, like it's, because it works so well. Yeah. So we never planned on turning it into a business, but yeah, it turned into a business after that.
So are you milking many cows here altogether, Maeve?
So we're calving down 300 cows.
Right.
So we have 2 separate milking platforms now. So this is Ballino. We're milking 160 in Ballino, and we're milking 140 on the second farm in Curraglass, which it's about a 10-minute drive away.
Okay.
So yeah, we calf down all the cows in Ballino. We're at a shed again at the minute, so there's always something. Yeah. So we're calving down all the cows here, and all the labour is here, all the hard work, all the watching cows calving at night. And then in the spring, so when we'd have just maybe over 100 cows calved, they'd go down to Curraglass, and the later cows calving come up here then.
Okay, very
good. So all the work is done here.
Is this all spring calving you do, Maeve?
All spring calving, yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So when you're looking out for lameness in the herd, I suppose, what features do you look at when you're going through the whole herd?
So it's mostly in the parlour, or when you're walking in the cows, you'd be looking at the cows, I suppose. So I don't know, would people be familiar with mobility scoring, but there's actually a chart that's downloadable from AHDB, and it's a very good chart, and it just scores the cow from 0 to 3. So 0 is a cow that's bearing weight evenly on her 4 feet, and she's walking with a nice rhythm. So a cow in a score 1, then she mightn't have the rhythm, but you mightn't be able to pick out which is the lame leg, so she might be worth lifting. And then I suppose a cow in a score 2, she'd be noticeably lame. You'd be able to pick out the foot that she's lame, and she needs to be looked at and treated straight away. And then if you have a cow in 3, it's severely lame cow. It's very identifiable that she's lame on that a certain foot, and she should be treated. She should have been treated maybe when she was a score nearly 1, rather than being left go to the score 3.
Yeah, very good. So I suppose the key is with lame cows, I suppose, is you kind of need to, I suppose prevention is probably better than cure, I suppose, Maeve.
Yeah, like I'd be talking to a lot of hoof trimmers, and you know, I'd be involved in talking to a lot of hoof trimmers, and it's nearly when a cow is at a score 3 is when they're getting the phone call to say, I have a lame cow and she needs to be treated and you need to be here today. But that poor cow has probably been lame with the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But the farmer is only seeing the cow lame when she's actually on 3 legs, which at that stage it's a bit too late, and the hoof trimmer is going around just basically putting out fires nearly. So if the farmer could maybe upskill themselves maybe, and maybe just take more notice of the cows walking the same way as you would condition score the body of the cows as well. Maybe just look at cows a bit more when they're walking, identify them a bit sooner, whether they treat them then themselves, they treat them straight away and not leave it linger on again. Otherwise make that phone call straight away. Like we were huge culprits before. What we used to do if there was a lame cow, and I'd nearly be embarrassed to say it now, but we'd wait until there was maybe 2 or 3 lame cows together to justify a call out fee, which is completely bonkers because each case of lameness is costing the farmer over €300.
Yes.
And it's in the cost that you don't see. So there's milk loss out of the tank. Obviously if she's lame, she's not going to be performing as well as the other cows. And then say we're spring calving here, so we have a limited amount of time to get all these cows back in calf again.
Yeah.
So if you have a lame cow in that period of time where you're trying to get the cows back in calf, she's not going to show you any sign of heat, and she's not going to go back in calf. So like you have another knock-on effect again. So even if you're not, if she's lame in that period of time where you're trying to get her in calf, it can set you back another 3 weeks, which is another 3 weeks milk the following year. So there's huge implications, there's huge knock-on effects, and it's probably hidden costs that we're not really seeing. But like I always think, like if we have a cow with mastitis in the parlour, she's treated straight away. There's no messing about, there's no nothing, and a lame cow should be exactly the same.
Very good, Maeve. And I suppose, would you check quite regularly for lameness in their herd, or so I suppose how often should herds be checked, I suppose, throughout the year?
I'd say you'd be constantly looking, you know, like every day you'd be looking at the cows. You'd be looking at them walking in from the field, you'd be looking at them in the parlour. You'd be just like, you know, if a lot of the cows as well, you know, when you'd be familiar with them, you'd be wondering, why is 1819 not come in her row, and normally she's in here. When you get familiar with them, like, you know.
That's it.
So it is very important to be looking out for those cows.
Very good. And I suppose, Maeve, is there certain times of the year that lameness can creep up a bit more often than usual, or is it kind of, you know, this time of the year would there be more of a cow's more at risk, or what would you feel there?
Yeah, I would say around this time of the year now again things are increased with lameness again, just because things are like the weather is getting a bit wetter, the passages are a bit muckier, the cows are probably still walking long distances to the parlours, so yeah, around this time of the year now again is where I think we'd see probably an increase in lameness again.
Very good. Do you do foot batting on the farm here, Maeve, or?
Not really, to be honest. We don't have a huge issue, so we don't do that much foot batting, but just a bit of advice for anyone that, and it is something that we will be doing. Do get to our collecting yard, which is another job on the list.
Very good.
There's a guy a vet in New Zealand called Neil Chesterton, and he's a fantastic website. It's lamecow.co.nz, and he has all the measurements laid out of the ideal type of foot bat. So the cows don't really like walking into, do you know the plastic ones with the ridges on it?
Yes, yeah.
But even if you walk through that one yourself, you're a bit like, you know, you're not that steady on your feet. So the cows actually don't really like walking through it. So it's so simple. It's just like a little wall of concrete only about this height off the ground. It's got a plug in it so you can easily wash it out and drain it, and if you set up with a hose alongside it to fill it. So you're making it really easy, and then it's easy to fill it, easy to clean it. And it's so simple. But David set up actually in Moore Park the layout of his one, but everything is up online on his website for the ideal type of foot bat. And the other thing as well with the foot bats is just people don't really measure the amount of water going into them, which is also important. So if the rate is at 2%, measure the amount of water, and
so you have the correct dilution.
Yeah.
Very good. So Maeve, have you got any advice there on, say, I suppose, what solutions farmers could be using, I suppose, to help with dermatitis or martellara or anything?
Yeah, so there's one product we actually sell in the shop, it's called Healmax. Farmers are getting good results with that one, but there's a huge range of products out there, and it's whatever works for you really. But that one is quite good. Bluestone then is another one that we'd use here the odd time on the farm just to harden up the hoof again. So yeah, there's loads and loads of different types of products on the market.
Very good. So Maeve, and we'll just touch on maybe so I suppose the grazing infrastructure. I suppose the ideal scenario for passageways and things like that to avoid lameness. I suppose what measures have you on the farm here for that sort of thing?
So I suppose one huge thing that helped us, we put in a tunnel last year. So we were stopping cows and they were all standing in a bunch by a gate, and then you'd have to go down, open the gate, leave a few across the road, and that's not ideal for cows to be bunching up, standing together in a mucky kind of area. That's what you want to avoid. Okay. So the like of putting in the underpass really, really helped us, and because we've done that now as well, we actually put on a batch latch onto the gates that's in the paddocks that are really far away. So I actually think that has been the most amazing little device ever. So it's so simple, you just attach it to the gate, or it's set on a timer so it'll open up. The cows start walking in themselves, so you've no quad pushing them on, you've no pressure, the cows walk in at their own pace.
Yeah.
And I think it's the fact that the cows walk in at their own pace, even though they are still at a nice distance away, it definitely makes a huge difference. And also that they're not bunched up at gates, they're not bunched up in a dirty area, say, waiting to be left across the road as well.
Maeve, this is your Inspect 4 crate. Can you just tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so this one is the farmer's crate. So this is ideally set up in the farmyard near where the cows are drafted out, so that if there's a lame cow in the morning, she'll be treated straight away, and it's not a big job anymore because it's so easy to operate, and it doesn't matter if she's lame in the front foot or the back foot, it's all the same. So we build these ones either left or right. So there's actually two fixed crates here. This one is off to Kilkenny and this one is off to Offaly. So there's a little bit of a difference. So this one, the cow enters this side and she's turned over this way.
Okay.
Just because there's a big frame with it and it suits this farmer's yard where he's going putting it. This one then is built the other way, so the cows come entering this side and she's turned up on her left hand side.
Okay, very good, yeah.
The other difference with these two crates, this one is manual leg holders. So this one, you just wrap that around the cow's leg and you tie it down, whereas this one has got the new hydraulic leg holders. So this one is just another bit quicker and more efficient again.
Right, okay. And I suppose, how are they run then? Do they need to be plugged in like electricity, or is it...
So it comes with its own hydraulic power pack. We typically bolt to the farmyard and then the farmer gets his electrician to wire it into the mains. That's
very good,
they usually work. Over here then would be the contractor's model. So this is the one that goes from farm to farm. So we'd have the like of vets or professional hoof trimmers buying the like of the mobile version. So yeah, I can just turn this one on for you if you want. So this one comes with a remote control and the setup on farm is really fast for this one. So you have your number plate and your lights on the back here. So when you come onto farm, that goes down on the floor. So this actually stabilises the crush. So if you have an animal, a big bull or a cow that runs into the crush, she's standing on her own weight, so she actually can't move the machine with her. I just have a further two stabilisers here. So basically that's the setup, it's very quick. Now sometimes you might have to bring out the lead-in gates to get closer to the crush to bring in the animal.
No, it's great to have the lead-in gates there as well, just for efficiency and just, I suppose, managing the animal, trying to get her into the crate as well.
Definitely, yeah.
So is it in this way she goes? Is it?
So this is the animal enters from this side. So you have a hydraulic back gate to push the cow in the last step. You have a hydraulic front gate to close in the head. And then this one is the squeeze side, so that just basically brings the two legs in together.
Okay.
And you just gauge it yourself. If it's a big bull, you leave it wider. If it's a small heifer, you bring it in closer. There's a lot of guys actually doing teat sealing heifers on these as well. So initially we developed it just for our own lame cows in the yard, thinking that's all they'd be used for is lame cows. But teat sealing heifers is another huge thing that's been done with the crates.
Very good.
So then this is how we grab the four legs. So you might have to move the leg into place and then just press the button. And it's much faster than going around opening each manual leg holder. So you have one button that will open up all four of them at the same time.
Brilliant.
So we've it for the teat sealing heifers then, actually, because the top leg is tied down up here. You've full access into the other. So that leg will move up a small bit and then you full access into the other. The most important thing when teat sealing a heifer is that it's done hygienically. The last thing you want to do is introduce the infection, so hygiene is number one. With the rollover crate, the dung is going this way. It's not going down and splashing up and coming back up on the teat, which is important. And you can have, because their forelegs are fully restrained, you can take your time and you can do the job right. You can fully disinfect each of the teat and put in the tube very safely and leave her off again.
Very good, Maeve. So Maeve, you've a range of products selling here. Do you want to just maybe go through a few bits and pieces there, what you're selling?
Yeah, so we set up an online shop. So it's available for farmers, hoof trimmers that are doing their own hoof trimming. So there's a huge range of shoes to choose from. So this would probably be my favourite. It's a very simple timber block. You have either left or right and use this glue to apply it. So we have the quick green or we have the white glue. Both work really, really effectively, and they'll work with the timber shoe, they'll work with the plastic TPs, and they'll work with the rubber.
Okay, so and what's the difference between?
So the green one will set a little bit quicker than the white one.
Okay.
But the key for both of them is to heat the foot and to heat the block. That makes all the difference. It just takes that last bit of moisture out of the foot and it gives the glue a much better setting.
Okay.
So yeah, there's loads of different types of shoes to choose from. Like these two would probably be our best sellers. The timber one is great if she just has a small problem and you want to keep the weight off the sore foot for a little bit.
Yeah.
The downside of the timber is that it'll wear away down. So if she's still walking a bit of a distance, you'll see the timber wearing down really, really fast. Whereas the TP block doesn't wear down at all. So it's less depth to start off with, but it won't ever get any less than that. So if she had a bigger problem like a solar ulcer or something like that, you could pop on one of these and it will stay on longer. You have the paste for Mortallara.
Yeah, so how does that work, Maeve?
So you just put on a little fist of it, say in between the two digits. You take out a little fist, apply it onto the foot, and then you wrap it up with a bandage for 3 days. The most important thing is that you should take off the bandage.
Right.
Some farmers will tend to leave on the bandage, and that's not great. If the bandage is on too long, it can actually start cutting into the cow's leg, which you don't want.
Right. And it's just one application?
It depends again. Like if she's very bad, she might need a second application.
Okay.
But a lot of the time, one application does the trick.
Very good. Yeah.
I've even had a few cows, they've had a growth in between the 2 digits, and rather than cutting it off, I've applied some of this.
Right.
And that's shrunk down the growth as well. So it does work for a lot of things.
So I suppose what does it actually do? Does it fight the infection or what?
Yeah, it tends to kind of dry it out a bit, and it just it works for digital dermatitis. If she had a solar ulcer, I'd actually put on some as well. It just seems to work for a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah. These are the wrist protectors. Usually we sell these when someone's after cutting themselves.
Okay.
So they're also quite important to know, especially the guys with the upright crates and they're down like this way.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the leg held really, really steadily, that's when problems set in as well. Like if you're using the grinder and that, it's so important to have the leg secure.
Okay. Very good, yeah. And you've just a few different types of knives in as well, Maeve, is it?
Yeah, so these are Dick knives. They come in from Germany. So yeah, they're a fantastic knife. Before, there was some hoof trimmers telling me that they might have only got 3 weeks out of a knife, and now they're getting 3 months out of a knife. Just the blade is lasting a lot longer with this with the Dick knives. So then, yeah, you've different ways to sharpen knives. That's just a very simple file. It goes right up into the hook as well.
Right, okay.
Then you have the belt grinders. They're also online. And oh yeah, the other thing as well, a lot of people ask about sharpening knives. Do you have the rubber wheel and the felt wheel that we also sell? And if you already had a grinder, you could add them onto your bench grinder, and that's another great way to sharpen the knives. This is just a very simple brass disc that will take out some of the knife work for you and just smoothen out the foot if you're putting on a shoe or that. Okay. You will do very little damage with this. We have the other discs as well in the shop. They have 6 knives set into them, but you would need to know what you're doing, and you would need to have the leg very secure if you're using those ones. This is another great little device, just for the long toes and that. Okay. So that's great just to get the long toes. Then you have different ones for mortallari again. So you have the salicylic acid. You have the heel max, which is kind of like the foot bath, just in a different form. It's a gel form that you spray onto the cow's heel. And this one, I actually find this one quite good as well in the parlour. So you know, if they're not too bad, you don't need to go foot bathing the whole herd. But there's a few you can see with just the strawberry like lesions starting. You could just spray the hind legs in the parlour just where she's sore.
Very good, yeah.
So yeah, that's just some of the stuff that's in the shop. There's a wider range online.
Brilliant, thanks very much, Maeve. Maeve, do you manufacture the crates here on the farm, or where are they made?
Yeah, so everything is done at the moment here in Ballino.
Brilliant.
So this is the shed that we manufacture the crates in. So there's just another fixed crate here being manufactured. Okay. And as you've seen outside, there's frames ready to come in to be put together. So there's actually one section of the crate that won't fit in the bat in Cork for galvanising. Right. So we have to bring them to Dublin or Limerick for galvanising. So, and the rest of it then, the other parts are galvanised in Cork. So yeah, there's a huge amount of making in them.
Yeah, there's lots of bits and pieces to them, I'd say, Maeve.
Yeah, there actually is. So I suppose the lead time now is gone to 4 months, which is, you know, it's brilliant in a sense because the crates are selling away, and I suppose the downside is fellas are waiting a bit longer to get their crates. Yes. Yeah. So we're kind of looking at the stage now maybe where we've outsourced a little bit more. Right. We outsourced the plasma cutting of the steel, so like all those arches there, the plasma parts are cut, so that company is quite interested in taking on the role of doing a bit more fabrication with the parts for us. So we might look at that road rather than upscaling here again, because we've enough to do with the cows, to be honest.
There seems to be huge making, and even like all the different angles and bits and pieces to it, like it's
there's a lot to it. Yeah.
No.
And like it needs to be all built first, and then it goes away to dipping, and then it has to come back again. So there's a huge amount in it.
There's a lot of transporting over and back as well.
Yeah.
No, that's great, Maeve.